one place in the book, he has talked about the fact that one day a human could walk into a clinic and ask for a replacement of his heart or a lung, and it will be done in few hours, and then he could walk back with a new lung. So that is what he says. Another very good concept is, he said money would become obsolete. Money would become obsolete. Means everything will be so cheap that you won't need money anymore. But I don't know when that stage would come. But that is an idea. That is an idea. Money would become obsolete. Things would become cheap. You won't need anything. Now you must have heard about this space station, space power station, which is being built by China. So they are building a station, power station in the space. That station will get energy from the sun, irrespective of the weather conditions, because there is no concept of day and night there. So they will at some place that power station can be stationed, and it will have large number of solar panels. So the energy will be absorbed on those panels, the sun rays, and then it will be beamed to earth even during night time also. It will be a wireless transfer of electricity. That is what they are looking at. They are looking at. So by 2100, he says, we may have, it's not possible right now, but by 2100 we may have space-based power stations. So it is worth reading the book. You can note down Nishio Physics of the Future. And even he also talks about universal tricoders, or translators rather. So there will be translators. You can communicate with the Russian. He will be speaking in Russian. You will have that app in your mobile phone. It will be automatically translated to Hindi or English. Then you speak, though that will be translated to Russian. So people would communicate in real time with each other without much difficulty in the near future. So with this space station, energy poverty can be eliminated. There is a concept called energy poverty. That concept can be, that poverty can be eliminated. Means everybody will have access to energy. Energy means electricity. Okay. Then all of you must have heard about A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking died a couple of years back. So he was the one who worked on Big Bang theory. The Big Bang, and he also proposed that universe is expanding. So by corollary, if it is expanding, then at one point of time it would have been a small mass, finite mass of infinite density. Okay. So it was basically a Belgian physicist, George Lemaitre, if I remember correctly. He gave this concept of Big Bang way back in 1927. And from there he picked on this concept, and he did a lot of research. So if you read these types of books, then obviously the interest in research, interest in teaching would develop a lot. You must have heard about James Webb telescope. There is a telescope which has been launched into the atmosphere, into the space by the American scientists. So it is now stationed 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. And from there it is collecting these images. And it is able to see back into the past, because the light is still coming from those places. So if we can get the light from a place which is billions of light years away, it means we are seeing in the past. So this is one example of the image that is there in the that has been taken by James Webb telescope, and you see here this is the position of this James Webb telescope. It is 1.5 billion kilometers from Earth, and from there it is taking pictures of galaxies which are very far away, and then these pictures are sent to Earth for analysis and observation. And it is geostationary with the Earth. It is geostationary with the Earth. So when Earth moves, it also moves by the same amount, and then the distances and orientation remains the same, like geostationary satellites. But it is much more farther away from the satellites. The satellites are in 5 or 10 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. But this telescope is 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth. Okay, so for people who are from mathematics, there is another book which is Fermat's last theorem. It's by Simon Singh. Fermat's last theorem. He gave a very beautiful theorem. He said that x to the power n plus y to the power n is equal to z to the power n has no solutions for n greater than 2. Okay, so he said that x to the power n plus y to the power n is equal to z to the power n has no solutions for n greater than 2. When n is equal to 2, this becomes Pythagoras equation. Okay, when n is equal to 2, this is a Pythagoras equation. But when n is greater than 2, so we have many solutions for Pythagoras. There are Pythagorean triplets. 3 square plus 4 square is equal to 5 square. But if I make n is equal to 3 here, if I make n is equal to 3 here, Fermat said, it's pronounced as Fermat, although it's written as Fermat. So he said that x to the power n plus y to the power n plus x cube plus y cube is equal to z cube has no solutions. You cannot find 3 numbers which will satisfy this. You cannot find 3 numbers. We might think that it's very easy. Maybe there are some numbers which you can find to satisfy this equation. But no, there are no numbers which satisfy this equation. But since the numbers are infinite, it was very difficult to prove this theorem. It was very, very difficult to prove this theorem. So he wrote on a piece of paper in some book that I have found the solution, but there is not enough space here. And after that he died. So this challenge was left to the mathematicians from 17th century onwards. And there are many people who tried to prove this thing. And not only this, you take any value of n, x to the power 5 plus y to the power 5 is equal to z to the power 5. Again, you cannot find three numbers which satisfy this equation. So this was very fascinating equation, and it was only in 1999 that a professor from Princeton University, New Jersey, Andrew Wiles, he was able to prove this theorem. He was able to prove that indeed there are no solutions to this equation when n is greater than 2. His name was Andrew Wiles. He was professor at Princeton. So he took a sabbatical and he stayed in his room for more than 1 year. And after that, he was able to prove that theorem. So this book talks about the theorem and how it was solved, what used to be the nature of the problems which were coined and solved by mathematicians in 17th century in Europe. In Europe in 20th century, they were able to formulate problems and solve problems of this nature. Then there is another interesting book, The Gene, An Intimate History by Siddhartha Mukherjee. Siddhartha Mukherjee is an oncologist and he has written very good book. He is an oncologist based in US. He is of Indian origin, but obviously he is an American citizen because he has been there for many years now, and he is a legal citizen. So in the book, he talks about how genes can be identified, genes causing a particular disease. So his work is related to connecting a gene with the disease or with some characteristics. So they have identified a gene P12, or I don't remember exact number, P224 or something, which is responsible for breast cancer. So they have identified the gene, and through targeted therapy, now it is possible to cure breast cancers. So there are some drugs, for example, Herceptin. There is one drug called Herceptin. That drug is a magic drug, and it automatically targets only breast, those cells which are causing breast tumor. So in the book, he has talked about what is the future. You can have a genetic modification of a child within the embryo. In an embryo, if you want a child with, say, green eyes, it is possible. Green eyes, blonde hair, fair complexion, all that is now possible. So the genetic modification can be carried out in the embryo itself, and it is not very common, or there are ethical issues around this subject, but otherwise people will have an option one day or the other in the future, and not very distant future. I would say in the near future. Cloning is another aspect that he has discussed. The concept of cloning. So one could have two babies now of the same. Everything is same. So instead of having a single baby, genetic modification can give you two babies at the same time. So that modification can be done, and those babies will be clones of each other. So that type of history of gene actually he has given in his book. And with that, I think I come to the end of my presentation. I think still there is some time left for question answers. So if there are question answers, I can take those questions. Otherwise, I think I have come to the end of